Hey guys. So, a psychologist friend of mine, she asked me to listen to the Deceptive Mind by this neuroscience guy from some well-known university. I found an online one. It's 6 hours and 30 minutes, and it's got more than that. But I'm into it for many hours as I'm working. And I just thought to text her, and I wrote to her something of the effect of, hey, I'm up to the part where he's talking about ad hoc, post hoc. You guys know that I've always lived by that. In my videos, I tell you that always being willing to change for the data, with the data, and also, my Twitter channel, I state that we're all biased. So we have to work on those biases, part of our issue too, when we think about something. For example, everybody's got it in for Denny Pate. I don't have anything in for Denny Pate at all. I'm talking about the bridge stuff, right? Just want the data to come out, and it's going to happen, whatever happens. So I have no bias that way. Now, no true bias that way. I just want the true data to come out. Those people will be compensated, the living people, for the loss of their loved ones. The dead person's dead. There's nothing we can do about that. All right, so ad hoc, post hoc, which means I've kept saying to you guys already, I repeat numerous times, just because you see one thing does not mean it's related to the preceding event. Meaning that I drop that out of sight, and you hear, sounds like a hit. Of course that's delayed, but here's the ball. I kick the wall, I drop that out of sight, you hear a bang, you think the ball fell to the ground. Reality, it was my foot that I hit the wall with. Some things are not related. Just don't tie them together just because you want to assume the next step. So the guys post-tensioning, yeah, they contributed. But we need to go back in time to figure out where it started, where the failure of the structure started. And it could be in design. It could be simple implementation of design. Or it could be the cabling, the installation of the longitudinal cables just elongated, that they couldn't hold the forces anymore. And the weight of the structure found equilibrium on the ground. So now, talking back to the psychology, God or not, creators. I wasn't writing that. I told her that as I'm writing you this, my brain is, I'm trapped or troubled, if you will. I said it's my prison, my type of thinking. As I did that, I glanced to the right as I was texting her, and I saw a piece of plastic, and I thought of the plastic, and I said, how many layers does it have? How's it interconnected? Layers, I mean, how is it interconnected? Molecularly, it's connected. And that bond creates that plastic that we visualize. Why does that bond break down? Why does the bond break down? It's holding its form. And why does it want to no longer hold that form? Well, my thinking probably is on the line right now is more on the lines of the creator, the creator or creators that created us humans and this planet, I would think. Remember, let me just jump to that real quick. So one time I was a little kid, believed in God. Then I didn't believe in God at about 6 years old. And then that stuck for a long time until a few years ago. So it's not God, but it's creator or creators. And yeah, they can be gods if you like, if that helps you out. Because I don't want to attack any of you that believe in a God. Incidentally, I think the creator or creators are more like sociologists. And they created all the religions. That all the religions are all true. They've all been created by just a social experiment, having a little fun. The creators are. They all have the same thing, all one creation, all one jealous, envious God, everyone else must go. They all have different nationalities that they associate with their gods. It's just a little bit fun experiment, I think. The creators just bored, had little dinosaurs here, wound up with tried a few versions of human. Perhaps there was a caveman version of us. I'm not denying that skull and body posture was not exactly like ours, the larger skull, etc. Perhaps those are the beta testing, the versions that that did not work. And then now we're at this version, me talking to you now. This is the version that works, and this is the creator or creators having fun with the multiple, purposely, the multiple nationalities, the multiple dialects, the multiple looks as far as Chinese, Japanese, and eyes, European eyes, along with things like that. All of us having a little fun. And so now the creator, if you think about it, my theory, well, let's jump to the ship how I come to creators. There's only one creature, it's human being, on this entire planet, that if you removed it, there's nothing the ecosystem has to fix. It will actually get better. But there's nothing like removing deer. The tigers would overgrow, in that area. Tigers that prey on deer, etc., would overpopulate. There would be an issue, but it would find balance. It would find equilibrium. Same thing with birds. If you removed all the birds, the planet will find equilibrium if you could do that. If you remove ants, it's still an issue. You still got to find equilibrium. The ants do resolve a lot of things. Everything is tied in, needed. It will have some adjustment taking place, except for human beings. If you remove human beings from the planet, there is no adjustment that needs to take place. Turn off the lights, I call it, meaning turn off the power plants. Don't melt down the planet as you walk away. So turn off the lights. And with that said, cats and dogs. Cats and dogs made. Are they always been our entertainment? Are they always supposed to be something close to us? Or the dog part, people try to tell you they're wolves and things like that, and a cat is a baby tiger. Yeah. They also tell you that the shark is millions of years old, and yet they tell you about evolution at that point. How come the shark is not a human being yet? Because ultimately it appears that evolution says that everything wants to be a human being, and that's weird, right? Their evolutional jump or going up is human being. That's where you come from. That's where you want to go to. So sharks are millions of years old, older than humans, reportedly, and yet they're not human. So make up your mind now. Evolution is just junk. Again, I've clearly shown that we're not tied to anything. We're not part monkey. We're not part anything else. We're the only creature you can pull off, and we come up with zero. And the planet doesn't miss us at all. There's no correction that needs to be done. Okay, so the molecular thing about that plastic. Molecularly, it wants to go back to where it came from. So the creator, I think, or creators said, okay, we don't care what you do as humans, have a little fun, but I'm going to make it so everything reverts back to wherever its baseline is. So you're not going to mess up my ants. You're not going to make giant ants like in the sci-fi movies. They're going to be ants. That's it. If you do make the giant ants, they're going to revert back to little ants again. If you do, play around with genetics, they're still going to come back to being just baby ants. So, the giant watermelons and things like that they do, they have to make that, right, to make it keep going. It's not like there's an overpopulation of giant watermelons now, etc. All right, so molecularly, I think that if you look at that plastic will revert back. All the molecular bonds it has will fail, and everything will revert back to its original starting point. In theory, right? Plastic reverting back to its original starting point. Same thing with humans, is that we're molecularly bonded, and it has a life cycle on it. And at the end of that life cycle, the bond starts breaking down. Our molecular bond starts breaking down. Our systems start to fail. And coincidentally or incidentally, they like doing the liver, don't they? Liver and kidneys. They like the filtration system to fail, which brings us down to our death. That's amazing. If my kidneys would have failed now, I would die soon. My liver would fail now, I would die soon. One lung, I can live with, without a lung. But those guys there, they go in pairs and out they go. Out you go. But it's 80 to 100 years, this molecular bond, before it starts breaking down that the Creator made. And that's the human. Now, I think it's just a social experiment, just having fun to see what would happen, because my theory is that all of these nationalities and dialects were created. That you didn't start with, for example, Adam and Eve. Say I'm Adam and there's an Eve, right? You know, or someone else is an Adam and an Eve. Not an Adam, A-T-O-M, but Adam, A-D-A-M, capital A. So they can't populate the world and make black and white Chinese and all that. And we're talking about evolution, if you believe that, because their eyes have changed, because you can't have it all. You're not, Adam and Eve didn't have what? Start off with a Chinese person, Japanese person, and European eyes. Make up your mind. And not only that, if you look into China, they've been pretty locked in with their population for some time. They're the ones that made the most people right now, you know, by nationality, if you will. Nationality. Chinese. And so they keep making Chinese people. They have not made a mistake in all these thousands of years. They've not made a mistake and made a European person. No mistake was made and a Japanese person was born. They didn't all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, look, you just made a European. Let's ship this one off to Europe. No, it's the rotation is still the same. If your Chinese people make Chinese people. Japanese people make Japanese people. I don't believe in the planet breaking apart that would make us an island, that the United States and, you know, North America was all bonded at one point. I think that's just part of the puzzle, that the creator's having a little fun, making it look like we're connected. Maybe it was connected and the creator took it apart. But remember, if it moved away, this Plantasia, I call it, a little fun, right? So if it moved away, then that means we're an island, because we're not bonded at the earth. And that means we're always shifting, right? And moving in a different location all the time. And ultimately we'll crash into each other again. But the earth, we're birthed. You can't go underneath the earth. We're grounded, literally, to the earth. We're not a floating island. We're not going up and down. Our elevation is not changing. We're not an island. And so how can you break this ball apart and call it part of an island? It's still here. You can't do it. It's bonded. So we're not an island. This is just the creators. You know, if it's beyond your conception, I understand, you know, but just revert back to humans. We always want to know where we came from. We always want to know if there's a God. We always want to know if there's an afterlife. The afterlife one, don't know that one yet. But I do know there's no pain in death. We all seem to pass out first during our death and then die. Now, there is pain in life. So, in other words, you find out that you're going to die soon because you've got a cancer or something. Well, that's kind of mental torture to know that. Whereas normally you would know and you would just get sick and you would just be calm, you living your life, not feeling well, but you'd still be performing. And ultimately you'd lack of oxygen, you'd go to sleep and die peacefully. Even the tiger that bites the elk or whatever, the antelope, I was going to have a little fun, cantaloupe on the neck. The animal's fighting for its life. You and I see a struggle going on. It looks terrible, but the animal just has something grabbing its throat at that point, let's call it. And it's fighting to get away. At some point, the teeth puncture an artery or a vein, and it causes the bleeding out. The bleeding out is no longer getting oxygen to the brain of the animal. It passes out. At that point, the animal still contributes to try to make it still bleed out further to the point of no recovery. And the animal, you feel no pain at that point. There's no longer any kicking or anything else going on. And that's with everything, you know. So if I was a gunshot wound, same thing, I'd be great. You know, might experience some pain, but I'd be great until the blood levels, my oxygen levels went down. I'd pass out, and that's it. Yeah, you would see trauma or missing shoulder and things like that. But there will be no pain. I don't think the Creator would make all the creatures have pain and death, especially since they're eating each other, you know, killing each other. I think it's all simple as that. You're fighting into the end. All of us with our what? Amygdala. Amygdala's fighting to the end. And then you just pass out. So now, jumping forward, something about that. I was going to say about the fear of sharks and things like that. So I think I'll jump back to molecularly. So everything is just going to convert, whatever you do. So if you cut down a tree, you know, it's no longer a tree, it's wood. So you changed its living structure. And now that wood will deteriorate, ultimately, going into the soil and feeding the soil. But then we put treatment on it. Even the treatments we add to all this stuff doesn't last. It will fail. We make steel. Steel goes back, molecularly, goes back to iron, rust, iron ore. It's going back in separate forms, though, not as the one anymore. It's losing its connection. 15 minutes in the video. So back to the Creator. The Creator made us with its brain, with our brains, individual brains, billions of them. So billions of brains exist right now, all individual brains. Isn't that amazing? Not like ants. We're not ants. Yet we became ants. We were all captured by our prospective owners, which are countries and states and cities. We're all on probation, supervised probation. And that is that you can't leave your country, and I can't leave my country without permission. Unless you're in Europe, then they still have a limit anyway, and then they just change the fence, the yard that they can play in. And if they permanently move, if anybody permanently moves, you must then show to the probation officer where you live now. Your driver's ID. Sorry, I've been choking. I had to pause a few times. Your driver's ID. Anything like that. Any of your permanent changes, you show the probation officer, your state, your city, your municipality, where you live now, and you must identify yourself within a short period of time to your probation officer. And they just recognize you. And they own you at that point, because that's the one that they tell you what you now will pay them to occupy that area, taxes, etc. So it's interesting. And these owners will tell us, they tell us, they dictate to us. Now we get into this craziness about, anything we own, remember, choking. Remember my theory states that anything we own, we protect. So we then think we own the United States. We're part of the United States, for example. We own this place, so no one else can come in here unless they have permission, and they just can't come in and just say, I'm coming there now. Well, let them come in, I say, right? Why stop them? Let them be owned also. They're owned also. They're not getting away for free. So, and you say, well, they're not documented. Oh, well, don't care about that. You don't own this. We're only own 80 to 100 years of your own life with limited control, because you can't go anywhere without being supervised or controlled or told your limits. I think I just found out I'm allergic to coconut. I tried some coconut. There's nothing in the air here. It is my construction site here, but it's nothing in the air. It's stable air, stagnant air. So I had some coconut. So that's going to kill that. So back to that we're on, right? So we're on. Nothing you can do about it wherever you are. So don't care about what the owners dictate to you. Don't play their games. If you want to play their games, that's your stupidity. Don't get involved in it one way or another. I don't own that. Realize that you're being owned by you accepting your owners and fighting with your owners left or right, Republican, Democrat. You're just saying, I want to be my owners to own me. Your owners don't have your freedom and your interests at heart. Obviously, none of them have our freedom at heart, because they're taking away our rights left and right, and they don't offer rights for things like privacy or cell phone privacy or internet privacy or anything with privacy. They don't want. They're like, no, we don't want to give you privacy. No, they justify it. The owner justifies it in any way they mean. We're protecting the people. So we now need to have access to all their data. We're protecting the people. Well, not really, because we can see that these guys blow up and shoot anybody they so choose. And that's because they have a conclusive file that they're going to go off to heaven, and they must follow their religions, that they read their religion as saying it's strict, you must do this. And if you think about it, quite a few other religions said the same thing. This religion is in that same path. They're not trying to train them to do something differently. There's no public service announcements about that. No, they like that, because as long as that enemy exists, they get to make more laws to control the owners get to make more laws against their subjects, you and I. So they have no intentions on ever changing that. There will be no intentions on ever changing that because the owners love it. All right, so that's that. That was a big little round circle of a few things, but molecular one is what I find interesting. The human body, that it's great right now. It's able to recycle, and then at some point, it's just going to no longer be able to recycle, keep regenerating life. And you could say that everyone tries to say, well, it winds down. As soon as you stop growing, it starts going the other direction. Sounds good to me, and then it takes that long, that cycle is that long to death. I wonder what the ratio is, people stop growing to compare to the death then, if it's based on growth. Like somebody stops growing at 16, do they have a shorter life than someone that stops growing at, say, 21? Because their body's still maturing? Do they have a longer life then because their wind down is longer? I wonder about that. I'll throw that at you. Take care.